The moment a lot of people have been waiting for, Pokemon Stadium is coming to the Switch Online service, the expansion pack. So the rental service. You don't own any of this stuff. I mean, that's kind of a given. But look, that little note down there. Pokemon cannot be transferred to this game. And that is going to be a big turnoff for plenty of people. But okay, I get it. You can play this game all the way through. You can experience, pretty much everything the game has to offer without transferring Pokemon. But I do feel this game was originally designed as an extension to the Game Boy games. It came with the transfer pack in order to bring over your Pokemon. That's the one big thing. Like if you play this without the ability to transfer your own Pokemon, you have to rent Pokemon. There's no ownership to it. And since the beginning of Pokemon, I know it's expanded over the years. It's gotten more in depth with story and whatnot to a certain degree. But always one of the biggest aspects was that connection to the Pokemon that you capture, that you train, that you build up. You don't have that in Pokemon Stadium if you cannot bring over your own Pokemon. Not to say you can't enjoy the game without it, but it's to a certain degree. It's like, okay, you're renting these Pokemon. The game was built for this, to be able to transfer Pokemon. But then at the same time, they haven't put any of the Pokemon games on the Switch Online service. So that's part of the issue too. But it already says, even if they did, it already says here that, hey, you can't transfer Pokemon into it. So if they do eventually release Pokemon on the Switch Online service, will there be a new version of Pokemon Stadium? Because if this comes out before then, which obviously it is, then yeah, there isn't going to be an ability to transfer Pokemon if it was to be tied into that ecosystem of the original Game Boy games to, their whole fake virtual console. Jumping into this game and renting Pokemon, it just reminds me of how the Switch Online service really is. It's a rental service. You don't own any of this stuff. And it kind of, it is what it is. Like, I'm not losing sleep over any of this stuff, but I just feel like, man, I would rather have, like, even if it's just digital, let me buy the games that I want. Put them on the Switch Online service. I don't care. But then offer, like, hey, if you have the Switch Online expansion, you got access to this stuff. But if you want to buy the game to keep as your own on your Switch, this is how much it costs. That's what they should do. But with how everything is, it's just a rental service. And it's just kind of, hitting at home here with this game that you got to rent Pokemon and the entire thing. Like, it would be fine, I think, if, okay, this was on here and then they released the Pokemon games and say a compilation, the original Pokemon games. Boom, you could buy it and then it works with the Switch Online service. That would be cool. But here, you're going to duke it out in 4-player online battles with rented Pokemon. Like, how long is this game going to, like, appeal to people? Once you're done with it, with all your rented Pokemon, and you cannot use this as a utility, even as an emulated piece of software, you cannot use this as a utility for storage of Pokemon and items or the transfer, because that's what a lot of people would use it for, was storage as well. And you're not going to be able to do that. So I think a release like this, while it's cool, it really takes away from the actual appeal of the game, the way the game was originally marketed. Now you're just going to have these battles. There's a lot of battles you get to go through, all the gym leaders and whatnot. But then the side stuff you have is all those little, where are they? The little dumb, like, games that you could play. Yeah, like all this stuff. Like, there's no depth to any of these mini games. Like, yeah, you could play that multiplayer, but they're boring. They're just a little side distraction from the actual, game itself. So while I don't find this kind of release appealing, I do like Pokemon. I mean, I can only speak for myself. Nothing I say is etched in stone. You're welcome to have a different view than me. That's fine, as long as we're all just civil about it. But it's just a huge missed opportunity here. Nintendo is not the only one who does stuff like this with the rental service where you cannot have access to buy the game separately. But it's something that I don't like. I don't like that idea that you subscribe to a service and you are allowed to play some games, but you can't buy it. Like, Xbox with Game Pass, like, it's like you're given a taste. You can buy those games. And then with PlayStation, they have their new tiers of subscription services. And with some of them, I believe it's PS3 where you can like stream them from the cloud, but you cannot buy or download those games. So it's like, yeah, Nintendo's not the only one doing this type of thing, but I don't like the idea, man. Like I want to have a sense of ownership. And with a game like Pokemon, the sense of ownership goes beyond like having access to that piece of software whenever you want. The sense of ownership comes into the amount of time you put into it, collecting these Pokemon, building them up, training them, naming them if you so choose. Like they're yours. But with the Switch Online service, this is the one thing I was live streaming a game not too long ago, and I brought this up on the Switch Online. I'm like, I don't really feel the same connection playing games this way versus like emulating it on my own device or playing it through the original cartridge because my save file, like that's a huge thing. Like this service is tied to you paying a yearly fee, and your save file can only be used if you have access to that game. And you have to pay to have access to that game. It's not a one-time fee, it's a yearly or a monthly fee type of thing. And I feel weird about that. Like that save file is just in the void. And if this service ever goes under, they just say, you know what? Okay, we can't have this game anymore, or we're cutting the service. The new Switch is coming out. We have to redo things. Or at some point, the service will be cut off. Like it's going to be a while. Like I get that. It's going to be a while, but at some point, it will be cut off. And all that time you put into these games that are just being emulated through the device, you lose that. If you're keeping everything legit, I'm sure, if you modify your Switch or hack it at some point, maybe you can access all that. But if you just want to keep it legit, like it's lost, it'll be lost and you won't have access to it. And that's the one thing that bothers me with these kind of services is like, I'm just renting it. It's like if you went to Blockbuster, you rented a game and you had to save, say you rented Final Fantasy 3 on the Super Nintendo and you played for 20 hours during that weekend. I mean, you just stayed up playing it. And it was like, oh crap, I got to return it. Hopefully my save file is still on there, right? You come back to rent it again, it's gone, Not exactly the same thing, but I just feel like if you don't actually keep it, you lose it. And that's exactly the way this service is. And it's just, it is what it is. We're not going to change anything bitching about it, but I do feel like, hey, I think I have a valid point here. Cool game to release, but just the model here and the lack of features. What is the point at the end of the day? I mean, don't like it, don't play it. Don't like it, don't pay for the expansion pack. Whatever. Whatever you want to do. It's just the way it is. But there you go. Those are my feelings and my thoughts, my little rant and ramble for the day. Let me know what you guys think. I do appreciate it. Bye.